Well, security is tight at the venue in Bonn where the G20 meeting is taking place. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and newly appointed US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson will take part in that informal meeting. The two-day event will mainly focus on sustainable development. Other issues include multilateralism and globalisation to also be discussed. Well, let's get you a quick update on that story. I'm joined live from Bonn by our correspondent, Guy Henderson. Guy, just to bring us up to speed, what's the latest coming out of that G20 foreign ministers meeting there?
Well, as you mentioned, the discussions today are supposed to be focusing on looking beyond crisis management. Just a few moments ago, Wang Yi, the Chinese foreign minister, met with Sima Gabriel, the new German foreign minister, to perhaps patch up ties between the two slightly. Gabriel had made some slightly controversial comments while he was still economy minister about what he saw as unfair Chinese trading practices in Europe, and indeed that's likely to still be a topic of discussion here, given that the European Union is still looking for better access to the Chinese marketplace, access on a par with the amount of increasing Chinese involvement in markets within the European Union, Germany included. But very much the focus here today, I think, is going to be a key meeting between Rex Tillerson, the United States Secretary of State, and Sergei Lavrov, the Russian Foreign Minister. The first high-level meeting between the Russian and United States high-level officials since the inauguration of Donald Trump. And the whole world really is waiting to see how this will play out, how Tillerson will play this, if indeed we hear from him at all, because he has been a pretty low-key figure since the inauguration of Donald Trump. A very delicate situation since the firing of the National Security Advisor, Michael Flynn, and it's going to be a very interesting first discussion on this first state visit for Tillerson.
And of course, Guy, we do know that Germany is using its presidency of the G20 to perhaps prioritise Africa. Do you think we'll see some of that sentiment arising in meetings over the next 2 days?
Undoubtedly, Germany, as the president of the G20 through 2017, taking over from China last year, has made Africa one of the key focal points, despite the fact, of course, that only one country, South Africa, is actually in the G20. Germany has said that because of the amount of instability, the refugee crisis, the threat of terrorism, potentially poses an existential threat to the European Union at a time when it's already dealing with a number of serious crises. There is very much going to be a discussion here and in the build-up to the main summit in July about how to change that, how to bring about more stability across particularly that North African region. We've seen that even in recent days. We saw an announcement at the NATO summit in Brussels about setting up a hub, a counter-terrorism hub in Italy, which part of its job will be to try and fight terrorism across that North African region. The Tunisian Prime Minister has been in Germany in the last few days. The Germans want to set up better cooperation with the Tunisian authorities when it comes to sending back failed asylum seekers, which has posed some serious security issues. But overall, it is meant to be a discussion around long-term economic development beyond just emergency aid, the kind of things that will see the development of longer-term, sustainable economic partnerships.
Well, Guy Henderson, thank you very much for that update live for us in Bonn, Germany.